Good morning and welcome to another episode of After Bloom. I'm here again today, or this morning, with John DiNapoli, and he's going to talk to us about his covenanting project. Good morning, John, and
Morning,
welcome
Russ. Thank you for having me back. Hello, everybody.
Tell us a little bit about the covenanting project that you're working on.
So the United Church of Christ is built on covenants. We're not a non-creedal church, and I'll just explain that really briefly to you. What it says is we don't believe in certain words. It's not the words that we say on Sunday, it's how we relate to each other, how we support each other in our fellowship that's important. Some other churches are creedal, where there's certain things you must repeat or must say all the time. And we do have prayers, so we're not praying. But we don't have creeds that you must believe in order to become a member. What you must agree to is to be in fellowship together, and that's where the covenant comes from, or comes into play. Now, the original covenant is between God, that we will believe that that God loves us and His grace is available to us, and that we are His people, and that's sort of the foundational covenant in the world. And in the United Church of Christ, we take that to the next step, which says that we do have a covenant with God. And then we will have a covenant together amongst ourselves.
Very nice.
I can talk about the Bloom covenant specifically, and I'm just going to apologize for reading, but it's important. So in our Bloom bylaws, we actually spell out the covenant in sort of detail, and if anybody ever wants to see the bylaws, we have them, and it's right here at the bottom of the very first page. It's important enough that it's the very first thing besides who we are. The next thing is what our covenant is. I'm just going to read a piece to it because I think it's important. Our covenant says that we uphold one another in living out the ways and teachings of Jesus in all our comings and goings, and ensure that peace, compassion, truth, and justice guide our daily choices and our life's goals. We join together in loving God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and our neighbors as ourselves.
You know, and that's a beautiful passage to have as a covenant, because I believe it presents us with a wonderful roadmap for living.
I think it's important to just make a distinction, because I think some people think when they hear that we're in covenant together, they want to consider it as a contract. So I think in modern society, in America particularly, everything's in contracts, and sort of law and legal and that kind of thing. And I just want to briefly go over the distinction between what a contract and a covenant is, sort of what the difference is.
Yes, please.
So we have contracts amongst like two people or two parties, and it's restricted to only those people that are involved. And the covenant's open to everybody. So any and everybody can be part of the covenant, and that's part of the difference between a contract and a covenant. Two things that contracts are sort of based on, obviously it's based on the law, and there's sort of there's a fear factor involved. If you don't do something, or if you do something, there's a penalty, or if you don't do something, there's a penalty. And that's sort of how it works, mostly in contracts. But the beauty in covenants is based on God's grace. It's based on love and not fear. So instead of fear that you're doing something wrong or not meeting the contract, it's all based on love, and that's a huge difference, sort of, in my opinion. In that way, contracts limit what people do and what are expected of each other, and covenants are limitless. They don't put boundaries on who you can be and how you can participate. But a contract says you can only do this, and you can only do that, and you can only do that. Whereas covenants totally nourish you and encourage you.
Exactly. They, like as I was saying, they present us with a wonderful roadmap for living our life and being together as people.
And I think it's important, and in the United Church of Christ, they stress that these covenants, they need to be affirmed and then reaffirmed. So you kind of affirm the covenant when you become a member. That's what you're agreeing to when you join. You agree to this covenant. And it's important that together as a fellowship, we reaffirm the covenant. So as I came on recently as the new moderator for Bloom, I'm one that loves to sort of look at the foundational documents or foundational words of any organization that I've worked with in the past. I always remind them every year, go back and read why that organization exists. Any organization you volunteer in or belong to, I suggest that you go back and look at those original documents. Look at the mission statement, the vision statement, and just ask yourself, is this organization living up to that mission and vision that was laid out? Oftentimes, and I've worked with a lot of organizations, two things happen. One is that we call it sort of mission creep, which is that the mission sort of starts one way and then suddenly it starts to creep over sort of another way. Maybe it's led towards there's some money somewhere that let's go after that because there's some money if we do that. And so that's good. Or some odd. So over time, they just forget what the original mission was and sort of creeps over another way. Another problem that occurs is that there's what we call mission stall. And mission stall just means that it's well-intended people and they're all moving forward, but after time, they kind of lose the energy. There's kind of like, you get kind of complacent in what you're doing, and it kind of becomes habit. And we don't ever want it just to become habit. We want fellowship. Just like in a relationship with your partner or anybody, you don't want to get comfortable in it. You want to be comfortable in it, but not get comfortable.
Exactly.
Because there is a distinction.
Yes, because then you get kind of lazy in what you're doing.
Exactly.
You want to be always alert to stay on the path that you want to be on.
That you agree together. Like we'll just, we've said we're going to go this way, and then you get a little tired, or maybe you take a break, which is fine. Covenants don't say you have to do it at a certain time. Everybody at their own pace, as long as the momentum is moving us forward.
Yes.
I will say that there's an interesting thing, particularly in congregational churches. So you're not asked to believe in any specific thing, but there's an obligation for you to find your path and what your desire and how you want to help the congregation. It's not laid out from some hierarchy where somebody above says, you will do this, and you will do that, and you will do that. It's up for you to decide to do that. And the great part about the fellowship is you have all these resources of people that can help you. Yourself, you've begun this Bloom Tube ministry. And so in that way, you came forward, someone said, maybe we'd like to do that. You had the ability to do that. And so our hope is then we can help you continue on in this.
Well, and it helps to, I think all of these things help to make progress and get the message out there, and I think we've seen that.
Well, absolutely. So there is just this obligation that we will help each other in what each other is doing, and then find our own way to contribute. They're all valuable. Some it's just financially, some it's participation on a Sunday, some it's actually taking a leadership role. The beauty of a covenant is not one gets more reward than the other. A contract would say you work more, you make more, and this one is be present, participate, and the grace and love is spreading.
And yes, because we all are rewarded from that.
Yes.
In very many ways.
Absolutely. I will say I'm back to mention the last episode about being what inspires me with Bloom. And one of the members told me when I became moderator, and he said, he was giving me some advice, which I appreciated. He said that in his perspective, and he's a scientist, and so he said this. He says, I think Bloom has all the elements that we need. I see it, this beautiful experiment that's going on, has all the elements. But he said, what I'd love to see is that little catalyst, that little spark, either that little drop of some element that suddenly makes the whole, the whole thing work, or not explode, but in a good way.
Well, as the young kids now, blow it up.
So sometimes it just needs that little spark. Yeah. So the beauty, I think, and what I'm so blessed in my position is all the elements are there. I'm not saying that I'm the spark. What I'm hoping to do is to inspire people through this covenant work that we're going to be doing to realize that we're all the spark.
Yes.
Any and all of us can be. I want multiple sparks, all over the place.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we're really open for. So that's where the covenant comes in. So through the covenant, we all understand why are we doing this? It's just kind of a reminder of why we're doing this and what can be my role in it.
Yeah.
And that's what my job then is to help inspire people and make systems and pathways to participation and leadership.
That's fantastic.
So
that's fantastic because that exponentially that helps to grow the church itself and to increase the work that we can do in mission by getting more people involved and covenanting with Bloom in the Desert.
And I want people to understand that whatever talent or whatever interest you have, that is Bloom. Bloom isn't only this, that, and the other, or only the things maybe you see today. That's not what Bloom's meant to be. Bloom is what you can bring into it.
Well, I think the name of the church says it all,
does.
Bloom, because what are those flowers? Gardens have many different types of flowers and plants that come into bloom, and we represent all of that.
Absolutely.
Each and every single one of us represents part of that.
Well, I'm excited about how the year will begin. Like I said, I sort of jokingly calling it the year of the covenant for Bloom, just to kind of readdress the covenant, reaffirm that covenant. And I'm sure I'll be speaking to many of you out there, and Russ as well, just about this more. So you'll be hearing more about it, and I hope you're excited as I am.
Yes, I'm very excited about this, and I think it's, again, a wonderful chance to add to the texture and the layer in the garden that is Bloom in the Desert Ministries.
Thank you, Russ, for giving me the opportunity to
Well,
talk to everyone today.
Thank you, and we'll have to check back in with you and see how it's going later on in the year.
We will, thank you.
All righty, thank you for joining us today again. Thank you for joining us today, John, on After Bloom, and remember, join us this Sunday, and if you can't be with us in person, please be with us in spirit and keep us in your prayers as we keep you in our prayers. And remember, when you volunteer, the life you change may be your very own. Thank you and have a good day.